Hey, I'm Matt Hudgens, and he's Dave Mulvaney, and this is Profitability MD. Dave, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing great, Matt. And you?
Life is good. It's a little chilly up here in Atlanta. I got off the phone with a Costa Rica client of mine, 80 and sunny. I was very jealous, very jealous.
It's cold here too, 55 and not sunny.
I think most of the country is pretty cold.
Yeah.
All right, man. So episode 108, Zig Ziglar Wheel of Life review. So this weekend I had a little downtime, and I can't remember if it was Netflix or Amazon Prime, and I came across a Zig Ziglar documentary. It wasn't very long, about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. I think I was watching it, right before the football game started. I had some just dead time, and the kids were out, and, so it's like I was by myself. So it was a Zig Ziglar documentary, about an hour and 15 minutes long on Netflix or Amazon. Anyway, great, highly recommend it. It's really awesome. In this, it's really neat. It wasn't like Zig Ziglar talking for an hour and 15 minutes. It was more like Zig Ziglar's life and the influence he's had on other people, right? So they interviewed the most famous people we would know would be Dave Ramsey was on there. So apparently Dave Ramsey and Zig Ziglar were big buddies, or he was a big disciple of Zig Ziglar, however you want to say that. They were close personal friends. But otherwise, there were also some really good just entrepreneurs who had kind of a rough start in life and how they overcame that and the influence Zig Ziglar had on that. And again, I don't know if they knew Zig personally or they were just in his classes or books or I'm not exactly sure their relationship, but they all have their quotes of Zig Ziglar's little sayings or little, there's a stair step of life and you got to do it in this order. There's no shortcut. Here's a cool one. 101, there's no shortcut. There's no elevator to be successful in life. There's certain steps you have to go through. And we can go through that, but it's kind of like the stuff we talk about, mindset and goal setting. And there's it's a ladder or stair step. And the saying was, there is no shortcut. You got to take the stairs. You can't take the elevator. We'll come back. That's a different episode. I wanted to talk about the Wheel of Life was one of the ones that all these people kept talking about. So the Wheel of Life is a concept. It's kind of a life balance and goal setting type concept.
Okay.
And so he's got six or seven categories. Okay. And the idea is you're rating yourself on each one of these categories to say, how balanced is your life? Right. And so here's what they are, and then we'll just make some comments to talk about them. So how's your work and your business on a scale of 1 to 10? How's your family life on a scale of 1 to 10? Your spiritual life on a 1 to 10? Your financial life, money, right? 1 to 10. Mindset or intellect on a 1 to 10. Your physical health, right? Are you physical? You're healthy? Do you sweat a lot? You and I were talking about that. And then your personal and social, like are you happy? And his point of all this is you're going to, those are 7 categories and you rate yourself 1 to 10. And he said, your smooth or rough ride through life depends on your wheel of life and how well-rounded you are. So if you had financially you're a 5, spiritually you're a 10, family you're a 5, right? That's a bumpy, right? Because it's not really a smooth wheel. They're not all 10s, right? There's some 5s and 7s and 3s in there. You're going to have a bumpy life. So the goal of life balance and goal setting for Zig Ziglar's Wheel of Life is to be well-rounded and try to get them all to a 10 or all to a 9 or however you say it. So that's kind of the outline. So where do you want to start with that?
Well, where I would start is if you're going to do this, you rate yourself on these on a daily basis, on a more regular basis. So why? Because you could take any moment in time and you might be doing great financially, but your family may be lacking a little bit. But if you strive to have, let's just say you're going to shoot to have a 7 in every category every day. If you're going to do a scale of 1 to 10, Garrett J. White does a similar thing, but it's on a scale of 1 to 5, and you want to rate a 4 or higher in these categories every day. Well, if physical, that would mean, did you work out today? Did you eat right today? And you create what is a winning category for you. You're not trying to live to somebody else's lifestyle. You're trying to live to your own. So your mindset, Did you put something positive into your mind? Did you read? Did you take time to think? Actually, just think without like something penetrating your head. Where you
Right,
just
right.
and so you create these things financially. What did you do your A+ activities today that create income? Doesn't mean necessarily you're perfect financially and you're rolling in the dough. Just are you doing the things? So I would think that would make the most sense when you're going to do a wheel of life or whatever you want to call it.
Sure,
You're
sure.
going to enter something like this. You want to rate yourself daily and try to score high at least 6 days a week. And I think if you do that, then you will have life balance because you're focusing on all areas and a high
Right.
rating in all areas.
That which gets measured gets improved upon, right? So one of the guys, I can't remember again, I wasn't very good with the names and who these people were in this documentary. They talked about, oh yeah, they were doing their wheel of life, and the family life was suffering, right? He was spending so much time on work, and the marriage was getting rocky, or not enough time with the kids. And so he needed to spend more time, balancing that part of the wheel, right?
Yeah.
Or they would talk about how the business would have its up and downs, right? So maybe they got overextended. Dave Ramsey, which I didn't realize, Dave Ramsey apparently declared bankruptcy.
Oh yeah.
So he's like a financial guru, and I guess he declared bankruptcy at one time because he was in real estate and he was over leveraged. He said, that's his whole thing about paying off debt, was because he had too much debt and it was all a house of cards. And he said it all came crashing down when he was in his late 20s or early 30s, and he had a baby and another one on the way, and they were coming to repossess the house and the furniture in the house or something like that.
What I get a kick out of Dave Ramsey, this is a little sidebar, is he has no credit score. He has he owns everything he has. His business, everything he has, he owns. And that's one of his claims to fame. He gets on stage and he brings up his Credit Karma, and it says you have no credit score. It's not a zero. You have no credit score. So he doesn't exist to the credit bureau, which is interesting because it's a different way to accumulate wealth. I mean, certainly you and I talk about good debt versus bad debt. Anyway, that's a sidebar. Has nothing to do with this episode.
That's really funny.
But
that's what I would say. So if you look at, we talk about goal setting, and this is the beginning of the year, and we talk about that kind of stuff. So you can take your little wheel of life and saying, all right, so like personal and social, like me personally, I'm not really seeing a lot of friends. It's winter here. My golf friends, we kind of go into hibernation mode. Obviously with the COVID, we're not all being that social to begin with, or eating out, and so there's not a lot of social. So you got to make an effort. You got to do your Zoom calls. You got to do your phone calls. I remember one of my friends suggested at the very beginning of this whole thing, which was reach out to somebody every week that you haven't talked to in a while, right? An old friend, an old colleague, just, hey, Dave, it's been a while since we chatted. I'm just calling one person a week. You came up on my Rolodex. How you been? What's been going on in life, right? I think a lot of people do that on Facebook, where they're kind of keeping track of their friends via Facebook. So how are we doing socially? We're talking about work and career and the bonus, and what's your plans for this year? What are the goals for the year? Where are you today, and where do you want to be, right? That's what we always talk about. Where are you today? Where are you trying to be? And what are your obstacles in the way, right?
And then once again, I think you create the scenario where you're grading yourself. So in the personal and social, what would mean most to you? Like, I would think if it were spring and if it were you, if you didn't play golf this week, you would give yourself a failure in the personal
and the physical, right? Because for me, I walk when I play golf, so that's 7 miles of walking. So that's part of the physical activity, right? So if you're walking when you're playing golf.
Yeah. So I mean,
exactly right.
Every person is different. I like the gym for exercise, but I love to golf. But I also like to ride in a cart while I'm doing it, because it's hard to carry a beer and a cigar while you're walking.
What were your physical goals? We're not doing the 50 some odd 500 miles this year. What are the physical goals this year?
Well, I have some physical goals that I want to get to a certain weight, but I want to put on muscle while I'm getting to that weight. So I'm doing more weight training this year. So I'm very sore today because it's the 13th of the month, and I've been at it. But yeah, I mean, so my physical goals, I don't want to run as much this year. That's hard on my body. However, trying to lose weight after running 535 miles last year, trying to lose weight coming into this year, that's it. not quite as easy when you're really putting that.
I know running is a great way, right? We're doing stuff like I try to go for a walk or a run every day. So we adopted a new 2-year-old Jack Russell. So a boy, he's got a lot of energy. So we walk him. Actually, we're trying to walk him twice a day to get all the energy out of him because my 16-year-old dog she's an old lady, and we need to get out the energy of the 2-year-old because he bugs the crap out of her.
So now,
so
how far can your 2-year-old dog walk? How far do you?
Oh,
walk?
he is hilarious. Yeah, so we're going on these walks that are 4.5 miles twice a day, right? So we're trying to get 7, 8, 9 miles a day out of him. He loves to run. I'm not running right now. I got a little my knees bother me right now, so I'm just walking with him. So
and it won't be good on your shoulder either if you run.
Yeah, it's not good on your shoulder because that jars that. So I got a little reasons I'm not running, but I think you'll be a good little companion. So that's what I was asking about your physical.
So what you're doing there, okay, so you're doing physical.
Yeah.
You're doing family because you're walking with your wife and your dog.
Yeah.
And that's personal too. It's social. So you're really covering, a few areas of the wheel of life.
Wheel. Yeah, exactly right. Of the balance. Yeah, exactly right.
And perhaps it could be spiritual if you you're trying to be one with nature or however you
nature, just thinking time, right? Because that could be in also your mind or intellect. That could be thinking time. Most of the time when I go on walks, I do my podcast, or when I get on my treadmill, I put in a podcast where I'm usually using it for thinking time, right? Yeah. Thinking time for me personally, or thinking time for the business, right? So you're exactly right. Try to multitask where we're doing a physical activity and a learning activity or a thinking activity along the way with the podcast that I listen to.
And I think a lot of people don't, when they're setting themselves up to do so many things, this really simplifies goal setting altogether, because it breaks it down into, you could almost take personal, family, and put those in the same if you chose to. You don't need to be a 7-step thing. You don't have to do the wheel of life Zig's ways necessarily. We're kind of reviewing but at the same time, when you break this down into certain areas and you rate yourself, like you say, what's important gets measured. And this is really important because there's many people who achieve tremendous wealth, but they're miserable, they're divorced. What's the point? What's the point of all that?
Right.
If you obtain the whole world, but you lose your soul, what's
well, and this is a great point too. And I like your point of this wheel of life and measuring it on a regular basis. Is it a daily, a weekly, however often? In that, I can't remember which book it is, Grit or one of the other books, but it's almost like the life-work balance is a myth. You're never going to be in balance. You're always out of balance, but you're always trying to bring it back into balance. So there are times that you're working more than you're spending time with your family, or there are times you spend more time with the family than you are in your business, right? And so, again, I forget which book that was. It might have been Grit, which was you're not always a 10 on all of these. It might scale back and forth. This is some hunker down, do some business, right? This is some hunker down and do some family time, right? This is some hunker down and do some spiritual stuff, right? So their point would be the wheel of life is not always a round circle. We're equal in all of them. It might ebb and flow between the categories, but going back to what you're saying, that which gets measured gets improved upon. So at least you'd have areas that you need to work on. I actually talked about the wheel of life with my girls. My girls are freshmen and sophomore at college. They're home obviously for the holidays. They're going back to school now. But I actually talked to them, a little 15-minute talk. Here's the wheel of life, Zig Ziglar. I almost made them watch a Zig Ziglar, maybe next week. Or I'm sorry, maybe this summer, make them watch some Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins stuff. But didn't make them watch the documentary. They osmosis from it when we had a little conversation about the wheel of life. Just because they're young, they don't even know what categories they need to be looking at, right? They don't even know what categories to look at. And
it's hard when you're in college because you're thinking about your schoolwork, your friends, they're thinking about work.
You're probably thinking about your friends, number one, your personal and social life.
Well, they do think about work because their work is their schoolwork. And then their social, I'm sure they're thinking of, maybe they don't have to think about money because you provide.
I don't think the kids think about money or spiritual stuff, or maybe not family, or maybe not even mindset stuff. Obviously, they're thinking about, like you said, getting their work done. But they don't even know all the things. It's like you don't know what you don't know, right? At least the Zig Ziglar wheel of life is just, hey, like you said, this might be 7 categories. You might want to do 4, you might want to do 9, but you got to know, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, you might never heard of a wheel of life. Oh, that's an interesting concept. That is a good thing for me to kind of measure or keep track of, or yeah, I kind of felt out of whack. I think Dan Sullivan, we talk about him all the time, and he talks about the 4 freedoms. So an entrepreneur is always trying to capture 4 freedoms. So his wheel is a square, right? So freedom of time, money, relationships, and purpose. So Dan Sullivan is, that's your wheel when it's out of whack, is that one of those 4 things is out of whack. So if you're out of whack, maybe you're not having enough time, free time, or time with your family, right? If you're out of whack and you're an entrepreneur, maybe it's the freedom of money. You don't have as much money as you want, or as you need, or as you desire. Your relationships, right? He talks about freedom of relationships being, that means we have employees that we like, we have team members we like, and we have clients that we like, and that we don't need to be doing business with people we don't like. We don't need to be having people on our team that we don't like. So that's the freedom of relationship. As an entrepreneur, you can choose to hire and fire somebody. You can choose to work with somebody or not. And then his last was freedom of purpose, which I think can change at any time. You might have, I want to make a lot of money to take care of my sick mom. I want to make a lot of money so I can give it all to charity, right? But there is a purpose, a why behind your desires. And so his is a 4 category wheel. So it's a square box. But he says when you're out of whack, one of those things is out of whack. And Zig Ziglar, it's a 7. So it's just similar.
But it's still, again, it's you're grading yourself. Now, yep. I mean, you don't want your spouse to grade you necessarily, because like you could grade yourself an A on like family or relationships, where your wife might rate you a 4, because you think you're doing great.
You probably should talk about that.
What's that?
You probably should talk about that if you're not on the same page.
Well, I mean, but that's just the nature of the beast. You think you're doing good, but and that's the other thing. By rating yourself, what it does is, if you're weak on like family and relationships during the week, well, you might want to go strong on that during the weekend.
Great point. Right. Right.
And because as my kids were growing up, I used to always say, well, you can't get quality time without quantity. Now, I can't give you that quantity time during the week, but I'll give you weekends, I'll give you vacations, I'll give you a lot of different things, and I'll coach your teams and things like that. I coached because it forced me to give them the time.
Sure.
That's why because then you're not committed to one person. So you can also force yourself into areas so you get quality out of quantity, I think, when it comes to relationships, for sure. That's a tangent, but it's certainly.
No, that's an interesting concept. No, you're exactly right. And you talk about, so during the holidays here, it was really great having the girls home from college. That's great family time. We didn't get to spend as much family time with the extended family because of COVID. We didn't do the whole big Christmas, right? New Year's, I didn't get to do personal and social. We kind of had a small little New Year's thing. But it's those areas that you can concentrate on, or what's out of whack, I guess is the other thing. What do I need to work on? What areas do you improve? What areas do you like, right? So like we're really, I think I mentioned this before, COVID this past summer, we spent a lot of family time together. Christmas, spent a lot of family time together, and we like to do stuff, watch movies and play not paddleball, what do I call it? What's the ping pong thing that we're playing now? Gosh, I can't even think of the name. It's not ping pong, but we play little sports together. We go for walks. We go hiking together. That's kind of been our family thing. Pickleball. That's what I say. Yeah, we'll play pickleball. We'll go for a hike twice over the holidays. So it's been kind of fun. And now that gets to be, now we can plan for that, right? So it's going to be like, let's plan for family activities and family time, right? I like to plan my vacations in advance, 6 months in advance. Maybe I can't quite get to a year yet, right? And even now we're kind of coming out of COVID or still in COVID, I got some stuff that I'm trying to get going, February, March, April, May kind of time frame, but I'm trying to get into those. We've already got most of the summer booked, but there's still some gaps. But that's good too. So then it's a conversation with the family. What are the vacations we want to take together? What are the things we want to do together? And plan it in advance. And the reason you plan it in advance is so then you have something to look forward to, right? And then the family's involved with the plan. right? Hey, girls, you want to go skiing this year? Do you want to go to the beach? Oh, well, that's a good family discussion and the pros and cons. I have a daughter who's going to do, well, depending on COVID, a May semester abroad, right? So there's a May, she's in Europe. And then so the rest of us, the younger daughter and me and my wife, maybe we'll go over there for a week at the end of it and just meet her over there and stay over there, right? So there's a whole family discussion. So we're trying to discuss the family in the travel, which turns out to our free days. You know, we talk about free days and free times off. So anyway, having something to measure or relate it back to your wheel of life is just something that now you're conscious of it. Here's something we like. We like doing stuff together. We don't like sitting around the house, you know, doing nothing because we all just wander off.
Yeah, and what it boils down to is, again, what you're doing is you're systematizing your time, and you're breaking your value down into these categories. The value of your time is breaking down into categories, and you're saying that my family or my family time is as important as my financial time, my time for making money, and so you're taking your time value and you're assigning it to other things. And if you don't, what'll end up happening is one category will eat the rest.
Will just dominate. Yeah, exactly right. That's a great way to say that. It will dominate. I remember that might have been in Dan Sullivan's Strategic Coach, where it was the best way, if you're overworked, the best thing to do is obviously take a day off. But the best thing to do is schedule the time off or schedule activities on that day. We're going to go skydiving. We're going to go hiking. We're going to go, and that way you've got it on the books, and there's an activity that's going to take place, and you're scheduling that free day, and that makes you committed, right? Kind of like you were talking about, you're committed to doing the 500 miles. You're committed when you write it down and say. So I think it was Strategic Coach that said the best way to get a free day is to schedule one and schedule all the activities on that free day.
And the reason that works so well is because if you're not used to having days off and you don't schedule anything on your day off, what are you going to do on your day off?
Yeah, whatever your default is.
You're going to start working.
Right.
So by scheduling things on your, you're trying to free up time for family or whatever. By scheduling, making your, skydiving, right. That wouldn't be high on my priority list, but whatever you prioritize on that day, well, now there's no time to work. And
right.
What'll happen is because you're active, your mind will be able to get away from work and focus on the activity. So be there mentally. Be there mentally.
And it's funny you say that. So you could take that same concept of scheduling the free day to schedule any one of these categories that you're lacking in, right? So you're lacking in the spiritual side. Well, schedule some time in your calendar to work on that, or your physical. You're lacking the physical. Well, what do you need to do? You schedule some time to do that. Do you need to schedule 30 minutes or an hour a day? Is it first thing in the morning? Is it lunchtime? I've been through various phases where sometimes I do it in the morning, sometimes at lunch, sometimes in the evening, right? Right now, I'm in the middle of what we call client surge meetings with my investment side of the business, where we meet with all the clients kind of back to back to back. And just what you said, that's what reminded me of it. I'm so busy today that there is no time to think of or get distracted by shiny objects, right? Because I go from client meeting or Zoom call, client Zoom to client Zoom to client Zoom, grab a quick bite to eat, client Zoom. And it's refreshing in a way that there are no distractions, right? That's a focus day. I got client meetings all day long. I don't have time to respond to that email. I don't have time to respond to that phone call. I don't have time to play around on Facebook or Instagram, or I'm a golf nut, so I always look at golf stuff is what I'm looking at. I don't have time to look at any, golf YouTube videos today because I got so much going on. So in a pleasant way, it was a busy day today, but it was so scheduled doing what is my A+ activities that it's also invigorating and fun because there were no distractions.
Those are good days when there's no distractions.
But like I said, if you schedule any one of these categories, your personal day, so you need to have, you want to have a date night with your wife, you want to go have a date night with another couple or two couples, right? And because you're not getting enough social interaction with our Zoom. We're going to be on a Zoom cooking class. I don't know if that's this Friday or next Friday, but it's like, 6 of our couples and they got the chef, and we're going to, I think they send you the food, or we gave us the list. I don't know exactly. We have to, get the food. We'll all be on Zoom together, and the chef lady will be there, and she'll show us how to cook it up, and we'll all cook it up in front of each other in the Zoom.
That's going to be
That's
cool.
a thing. Yeah, I think that'll be great, don't you?
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
So I'm not a big cooker, but or a chef, but that just sounds like a way to socialize with, our personal and social side,
We did that. I actually learned to make real pasta at Bella Collina Golf Course. One time I was on a golf outing, and they did, the chef at the golf course taught us how to make pasta, and it was great. It was, it was a lot of fun because it was, we cooked, and, it was just a good time.
It's great. We used to have a guys' night like once a month, and they had a guys' cooking class at the club. And so, me and a bunch of my golf buddies, and we'd go over there, and we're not master chefs or anything, but they have everything made out. It was really a social outing, right? And then we've done couples cooking class, which is kind of what this is via Zoom, but Patty and I have done it where we're going with 6 other couples, and we're going to the club had couples cooking classes. So it's just an activity. Cooking just happened to be it, right? It just doesn't matter what it was. It was a social activity of interaction that's different, that's scheduled, that's outside your regular scheduled programming, right?
And so that falls under family, or that falls under personal.
Social. Yeah.
Personal, social. And the point being is this is just one. I would say this falls under what I'd say the entrepreneurial time system, utilizing it's just one of the many things that we cover, in our mastermind. We've got an entire format of things that we go through. Well, how you utilize your time. There is no such thing as time management. We all have the same amount of time. How you utilize that time determines how well, or, your life, how balanced your life is. So time balance is a big part of that, I would think. And that's just one of the many things we discuss in our mastermind.
Right, exactly. It's one of the categories. You and I were talking about this offline. You're talking about a mindset, which includes vision and goals and time systems and managing your time. Talk about attracting clients and delivering your service, and how you're going to scale the business, and then how you're going to increase, your profitabilities with our 5-step formula: the conversions, transactions, pricing, profit, and bundling. Right. So these are the things we talk about in our mastermind group. This was just a fun one. Zig Ziglar. Go watch it. It's really fun.
I'm going to watch it. I haven't seen it, but I will watch it. I'll probably even watch it late tonight after I get done.
I think it was 85 minutes. I mean, it wasn't even like an hour and a half. It's like 85 minutes. It's fun. It's not Zig Ziglar himself. It is kind of people that he influenced, or people who were influenced by him. It's really great and entertaining. It's either on Amazon or Netflix. Go watch that. In there, he talked about the Zig Ziglar's Wheel of Life. I think it's a great thing to utilize. There are other people that have these type measures, but the point is there are areas in your life where your personal and professional and your family and your spiritual and your financial and your mindset, all these things matters for you to be successful, for you to have a balance, or let's call it balancing act, right? There's the thing we talked about. If you stand on one foot, are you balanced or are you balancing, right? You're actually balancing because your body's moving back and forth. This is just a way to kind of say, I need these categories and make sure I'm balancing between them. We're not all going to be perfect at the same time. But as we talked about, this is what we talk about in our mastermind group. If you want to apply, it's Matt at profitabilitymd.com, Dave at profitabilitymd.com. There's a whole list of things that we go through to make you the successful entrepreneur that you deserve to be, right? You can make more money, you can take more time off, you can pay less in taxes, business is fun, getting clients is easy. That's really what it is. And we've got a whole roadmap, right? We always talk about you need to be committed, you need a roadmap, and you need support, right? We've got the roadmap, our mastermind. We got to support our mastermind. We just need you and to have the commitment to do that, to get the success that you want. So Matt at Profitability MD, Dave at Profitability MD, talk about our mastermind group if you want to apply. This is on Profitability MD YouTube channel. It's on profitabilitymd.com, and it's on Profitability MD anywhere you get your podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast. So this was good stuff. The Zig Ziglar Wheel of Life review. I like it. It's good stuff.
Great. Matt, it was a good show today. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. See you.
Take care. All right, bye.